Hey, this is Johnny Damon, your favorite caveman from the 2004 World Champion Boston Red Sox. You're listening to Boston's Big Three podcast presented by Ride the Wave Media.
Welcome to Boston's Big Three, episode 70. Boston's Big Three, presented by Ride the Wave Media. Today, we are sponsored by Pete's Pop. Pete's Pop has the most unique candy, chips, and soda under one roof. You can head to Pete'sPop.com. That is PETEZPOP.com, or check out their Instagram. Or if you're in the New England area, you can head down to 151 Benefit Street, Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Go see my man Petey. Go support a local brand, Pete's Pop. Today on today's show, I don't say that. Let's say it again. On today's show, we have Marlon Webb, the Marlon Webb interview. This was conducted a couple weeks ago. Been crazy around in my life right now. We're about, by the time this gets released, I can't do this today. I'm just nervous. You know why I'm nervous? I got the twins coming. The twins are coming within like 2 or 3 days from now, and I've been scrambling all over the place, and I can't concentrate that much. I'm also so excited because after our interview, I got Caiden Bodak on today, and we're going to talk Jarrett Stidham, and I'm so excited about that because Jarrett Stidham's going to start week 1, and I've been preaching this to every single person, and I'm going to read a tweet afterwards that's wholesome significance, and Caiden Bodak's going to tell you why Jarrett Stidham is the starter for the New England Patriots. But before we get there, Marlon Webb, it was a great interview that we had. It's an hour long, so we're going to just get right into this very soon. Myself and Marlon Webb, if you don't know who Marlon Webb is, he was Vine famous. He switched that over to YouTube. He's got about 500,000 subscribers there. He's on Instagram with 1.5 million over there, TikTok, and he's somebody that grew up in the Worcester area. He was from the Boston area. He ended up moving out to LA about 4 years ago. We talk about his journey for the first 20 minutes of social media and how he ended up doing that. We talk some Boston sports in between that, some of his best moments. He's a big, avid football fan. We got into the Jarrett Stidham versus Cam Newton debate. And we also talked about racism in America, racism in the NFL. And he gives us some of his experiences, and it's a great educational tool as well that we could go back and forth and talk about that in an open discussion. But other than that, this is Marlon Webb. Enjoy the interview. We hope to have him come back on. Here he is.
Bad.
All right, everybody. So I thought this was going to be something special, something interesting today. Usually we have athletes come on and we do, very sports-oriented, interviews. But I have someone that's been following me, and the funny thing is I believe it was back last August, and this individual commented on my post, and then someone was like, "Oh my God, like this guy follows you? Like I can't believe it." And then I looked into it, and I had to give a follow back. And it's cool because he grew up in the Boston area, which we'll get more into, and he's moved out to LA, and you can find him whether it's on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. I'm sure there's Twitter involved in there as well too. Something, I don't know. But we have none other than Marlon Webb on here. I was saying Marlon Webb. We got Marlon Webb on here today. Marlon, what's up, man? How's it going?
No, what's good? What do you mean athlete? Of course.
Shut up the gun.
You normally have athletes. Yeah, normally. No,
I mean,
what's going on, bro?
Well, it's cool about the Boston's Big Three thing. I mean, Ride the Wave Media is pretty much into sports, but I like to get into a little like lifestyle and culture, the things that have to do with Boston. For those at home that don't know who you are, again, just right off, before we started filming, I was saying, I told my Ride the Wave Media group, I got Marlon Webb coming on, and they freaked out. They were showing me all these different videos, and I posted a little video together of some of the skits you've done in the past. Talk to us a little bit about living in Boston originally, before you went to LA. I guess you were very big on Vine. I mean, Vine was like the 6-second videos, right?
Yeah. It was just 6.5 second videos real quick. They just looped, you know what I mean? But,
how big did you get on Vine? And just talk to us about your Vine journey.
Yeah, I got up to like 1.3 million on Vine before the app shut down. I had no intention of doing anything like that on Vine, but I mostly shot all of my Vines in Worcester. So I didn't actually live in Boston. I bounced around Massachusetts
Oh,
a
so
little
you're
bit.
one of those guys that says like, yeah, I'm from Boston, but you live in Worcester.
Because if I say Worcester, nobody knows. Nobody knows, or like if I say Peabody, no one is like, "What's Peabody?" You know what I mean? Like, so I just say Boston, just to like, all right, yeah, I get it. You're from that part of the country, right? But I did have a waitress my first year out here that was from the same neighborhood that I was living at in Worcester. Really, really random. I just super coincidental. But anyway, I started mine in Worcester, Massachusetts, because I was going to Worcester State at the time, and I was taking like acting classes at Worcester State. And my roommate introduced me to Vine just to like, something to do. Like, all right, if I'm not acting right now, I'm just taking classes, I'll mess around with Vine a little bit, just shoot the shit here. And one of my big comedic inspirations is Dave Chappelle. I'm a massive Dave Chappelle fan. So I have fun shooting skits. That's what I like to do. I always loved how much fun it looked like he was having with his friends shooting skits. So I figured I'd do the same. And so I was doing Vine for about a year or two, and nothing really happened on it. I had like one or two decent videos here and there, but I didn't really know what I was doing, and I had no intentions of blowing up. And then after like 2 years, like things started to really, really take off, and I was like, "Whoa, this is really, really happening, huh? Like, what's up?" And this studio out in LA contacted me and was like, "Hey, we want to represent your Vine channel because like a lot of your Vines are going other places besides the Vine platform, and we want to get you the compensation for that." So I was like, "All right, cool, no harm in that. I'm working full time, so don't mind the extra money." So that started happening. Basically what happened, like a lot of like Vine compilations ended up on YouTube, World Star, all that kind of stuff, and like I wasn't getting money for it, so they would just get all the monetization for that and just give it to me. Now at the time, I was working full time as an ABA therapist in Worcester in the school system there, right? And I was making pretty good money. It was a solid job. I was really proud of that job. And then one day came, this company sent me a check, and I was like, "Whoa, what's up?" That's a lot more than I've made at my full-time job, but still, I didn't plan on quitting it. I was like, "All right, that's cool. That's really, really dope. I can buy some extra things, but I'll keep working on my job." Next month came, the check doubled, and I was like, "Okay, so now I have to start thinking about possible future options." So I could keep working at this job, which I love, or I could be like, fuck it, let me just go all in on the comedy and the acting and all that kind of stuff, because this seems really, really fun. And people at my work were actually fans of what I was doing. They're like, "All right, yo, you're funny. Like, might as well give that a shot. Why not? And if worst comes to worst, there's always a place here for us." So I appreciated that. So that at that point, that's when I quit my job in Worcester. And then I moved to Peabody, Massachusetts, and lived there for about a year. I kept shooting Vines in the North Shore area. Also, sometimes in Boston area, like Roxbury Crossing. I had some friends who lived in Roxbury Crossing, so I shoot around there as well. And after a year of shooting Vines there, it got to a point where, I mean, I loved it. I was shooting with the same people all the time, and I loved that hominess to it. But then I was like, you know what? Hey, man, me and a couple of friends, we just got to go to LA and see what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, all the studios are out there. I'm getting messages from people in LA saying, "Come out here. Like, we can shoot with you there and do this project and that project." And I'm like, okay.
It felt like, going back on Vine. I mean, that was like 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah, it was a
And
long
I felt like, yeah. And I bet there's kids nowadays that don't even know what Vine is.
Yeah.
And Vine is like the original TikTok. Like, that's where things started.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to say that because I felt like even being on Vine back then, a lot of these guys, like King Bach was like huge on Vine. And a lot of these guys moved to LA to end up trying to further their career as well. I think even like Logan Paul came from Vine, right? And he's someone that moved out there. Did you see like a mass exodus of individuals moving just to LA kind of at the same time?
I did. It was around the Vine period. Like Vine really made it popular to quote unquote be internet famous or to have followers on the internet. Vine started that. And all these creators were moving out to LA at the time Vine was blowing up to like collab with each other and grow together and also pursue different goals like acting or whatever it may be. Batch was actually already out in LA for a little bit. He was actually shooting YouTube videos for a while and was successful with that, but then really, really took advantage of that and got his stuff. He worked his ass off doing it. But yeah, I just had to be where the action was at. So we drove across the country from Peabody and set up shop out here. And yeah.
You never came back. I mean, you've been out there. How long you been in LA for?
I came out here 2016, beginning of 2016. Like, actually not the beginning, probably midway through. Like August 2016 is when I moved out here. It's 2020. Oh,
so 4 years. 4 years. 4 years now. Yeah, we're in August.
I'm pretty much a Californian. I am a Californian.
Yeah.
I still come back obviously for holidays and whatever, things like that. But
this was a question from our guy Anthony at Ride the Wave Media. He does our New Guys podcast. He actually said, when Vine shut down, I'm sure it was a shock. How was the transition from making content just on Vine to making content on different social media platforms?
So I have a little insight on that, I guess. I knew it was coming like months in advance. So at that point, I was already starting to make longer form content on other platforms like Facebook and Instagram. So I kind of like mentally prepared that and mentally prepared myself to make longer content already and to make sure that when it does shut down, I'm going out the other platforms full force. That way I don't like skip a beat. So that wasn't really a hard transition.
Yep.
Looking back at it, because I had the heads up, I had the forewarning.
He also said, as someone who's made a few TikToks in his day, I know that a lot goes into it. How long did it take you to make an average Vine, and how much actually went into making it in terms of creativity and editing?
It depends on what the Vine was. What's funny is my most popular Vine ever was just me jogging like an idiot, whatever. That ended up on Fortnite. But that Vine took, we did a couple of takes, not much editing needed there. Just do it, throw the song on, and all of a sudden 40 million views. But then there's other Vines where I'll take like hours and hours to like get the editing right. The maximum amount of shots you had on Vine was like around 6 shots, and you had to like somehow make that work and flow and not seem rushed and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes I'll be overdoing it for sure. I was still learning at the time. And it was funny to me, like the Vines that I would work harder on and longer periods of time on, those would do worse than the ones that I was like, fuck it. Let me just do this. It's actually that Vine, and then I did a Vine called Sliding in the DMs where like I slid down a ramp it was behind the bar I worked at in Worcester. It was like 3 a.m, had a couple shifts drinks. The ramp was like super greasy because it was next to the kitchen. And we just like did a couple Snapchats of that, just me sliding down that saying, good evening. I threw it in my camera roll. 2 weeks later, I was just taking a shit, going through my phone, like, what can I post on Vine? And I was like, let me post a Snapchat real quick. And that also got like 40 million views. I'm like, yo, I'm working so hard on these other Vines, and then these bullshits.
It's crazy because, like, I'm more sports oriented in the terms of the content that I'll make. And same thing with my buddy Green Runs Deep, and he does all Celtics related content. He's awesome. And it's sometimes the stupid shit that we do that we just think off the cuff that ends up becoming the best views for us or the most notable videos that we've done. But I agree with you. Like when you overthink things, you put a lot of effort into it. It is frustrating that, damn, I put so much effort into this and no one gives a shit, but I can fucking pick my nose or something and not give a shit and everyone loves it. So it's crazy.
It's the effortless stuff. It's a nice reminder to let us know that we're in the positions that we're in now because of who we are. Not like overthinking things and like trying to do too much. We're enough. You know what I mean? You're enough. And that's why you have the platform that you have.
How does it feel to just be your own boss? Like you're not working for anybody. You're working for yourself and you're having fun with that. Do you feel Do you think that you put stress on yourself to be like, I need to come up with something to stay not relevant, but just to keep producing the content? Or do you just feel like, hey, it is what it is. I feel pretty stress-free. I mean, I don't know if you have contracts right now. I don't know about that, but what's your life right now in terms of stress and the way you put content down?
Yeah, that's a good question. So life right now is definitely a roller coaster for sure. Like there'll be times where I'm thinking like, oh man, I got to get this content out because if I don't, I am my own boss, but like this could all go wrong. I mean, it's up to me to be able to keep the money flowing and keep the content flowing and keep my job flowing. So without the structure of having like a boss to tell me to do things, there's a little bit of anxiety there because, I got no boundary. I got no train tracks. So sometimes you'll get in a funk for a little bit, like, oh man, it's up to me, and I got to make sure that I make this work. And other times you just think to yourself, you know what, it is what it is, and I'm just gonna do the best I can. And if they don't like it, they don't like it. If they do, they do. That's great, But definitely lately, it's been a roller coaster. Like during this quarantine and everything going on in the world, that's been a roller coaster.
So I was just gonna actually ask you, have you noticed that your numbers have been going up during COVID? More people are on their phones, more people are at home. It's a little bit harder to grab content out in society because everything was so restricted. And I know out in California, it was like very restricted at certain points with the shutdown. So have you noticed at least your subscribers going up on YouTube, Instagram views going up, or has it been kind of the same?
That again, it's still been like a roller coaster there as well. Like when I first started, everything was going up right away. But then maybe like a couple months into it, things kind of started to taper off. And then not only was COVID in the play, but there was also like racial tension too. So that brought things down a little bit too, made things a little more serious. And for me, even like I didn't even feel like posting anything funny for like a month and a half. I was like, all right, no one gives a fuck what I'm doing in quarantine right now. Come on, there's too much going on in the world. And then after that, climbing back into things are kind of like stagnant right now, I would say, just average back to normal because everyone's kind of over looking at their phones the first couple months. Everything's kind of back to normal in a way, and people figured out how to like handle themselves in quarantine. So it ain't like that anymore.
Do you have any set goals coming up for the next 5 years? Like, do you have a 5-year plan set up where do you want to try to get into have you done comedy shows? Like, do you like to do stand up at all? Have you tried it? Or where do you want to go in 5 years with this? Do you want to just keep doing kind of the same thing and just hopefully keep building up the platform?
Yeah. So right now, I actually had an exit plan in place for like this winter as far as social media goes. Like don't get me wrong, I love making skits. It's literally makes me feel alive. I love doing it with my friends and making each other laugh and like that whole thing. I love that. But I do have goals where I want to kind of cross over into more mainstream stuff and more long form content and more serious stuff too. Like, to show the acting chops. And I really, really love diving into characters and doing, stories. Because I've done a couple of short films now. I've been taking acting classes that have nothing to do with comedy at all. It's more just like dramatic stuff that I really love. But right now, because of the situation that we're in, I don't see myself leaving social media just yet because everything is kind of coming onto social media, digital. Everything's going digital. So I'm like, oh, all right. So because of this, I probably have to stay here for a little bit. I'm okay with that. I love it. But my 5-year plan, I would say a couple more years on social media at least. And then I do want to transition off of social media and do more traditional stuff.
And when you say transition off of social media, it's not like, oh, that's it, my account's blacked out. You're still going to you're just scaling things back because you're still going to have the following, and companies are going to see that, and they're going to want that too. So it's able to sell yourself a little bit more out there. The power of social media is crazy when it comes to numbers, because even for us, as we're very small, but we have very powerful ways where in the Boston area it could be like, hey, this is our Instagram, this is our YouTube, this is our analytics, and companies will be like, okay, like let's roll with that. Like here, we'll pay you, we'll do this, that. It's on a smaller scale though.
Right.
I want to talk about TikTok a little bit. We might get a little political here and there too. The orange man Donald Trump said he wanted to ban TikTok in the United States. Do you have any insight on if TikTok, RIP TikTok, or do you think that Microsoft, I guess, is rumored to be buying out the U.S. Part of TikTok, the U.S. version of TikTok? Do you think TikTok's going to die out?
Hey, man, I'm already conditioned for this kind of stuff. I'm already conditioned. So the best way to go about social media is to definitely push all your platforms and be prepared for one to go. I've been always thinking about that. Like, what if Instagram gets taken away? What if YouTube gets taken away? What if Facebook? You have to be thinking about that stuff. Do I think it's actually gonna leave? I don't. I really don't. But at the same time, I am prepared for it to go. You know, I think there'll be too much noise if TikTok actually got taken away. It'll be too much noise, too much pushback.
I was going to say this. Does it bother you at all that TikTok's algorithm is like wacky, where somebody pretty much overnight can become a sensation without putting a lot of effort into their accounts? Meaning like they can grab 1 million followers pretty quick, where you have been doing the grind for, 7, 8 years on multiple platforms. Because sometimes I'll click some of these people that are funny, and you go on their Instagram, it's like they only have like 10,000 followers or 5,000 followers. Like they might not try to promote their other platforms, but I mean, do you feel sometimes like, damn, how the fuck does this person have more followers than me? And I'm definitely worked harder and grinded harder than them.
I never really felt anything about it. I mean, because the way I see it is like I'm not necessarily, when you look at it like that, when other people are gaining without any effort and you feel resentful for that, it's almost like a jealousy thing. And I'm not jealous of nobody. You know what I mean? I'm not really intimidated by anything. I know where my strengths lie. And I'm not really intimidated by another creator or like, oh, why is it so easy for them? I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? We'll see what happens at the end of the day for them. You know, if they can keep that up and transition that into other platforms or into a bigger business. You know, not everyone can do that. So, I mean, if somebody wants to get viral, famous for doing something stupid, by all means, go do it. You know, like that's
you do you. I do me, you do you type of deal.
So, whatever you want to do.
All right, we're going to transition a little bit now to the sports aspect about it. Thank you for the last 20 minutes. We've been talking about, everything to lead us up to this moment. First and foremost, Tom Brady, a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Are you supporting Tom Brady down in Tampa Bay?
Well, here's the thing. I don't support him in Tampa Bay. However, I do love Tom Brady because, like, I've been a Patriots fan my whole entire life. Like, when I was in 3rd grade, I did a book report on Drew Bledsoe, and I came to school dressed as Drew Bledsoe and all that kind of stuff. And then when Tom Brady came to town, I remember the day it happened when they were playing the Jets. I remember that day. I was in 5th grade. And when Tom Brady came in and then changed that whole entire season, that changed the way I view football. I went from being, oh, yeah, I'm a fan because I like sports and I live in New England, to I'm all in on Tom Brady. I'm all in on the Patriots. I'm all in on every single – like, when Tom Brady came in, that's when I started watching every single game and watching how everything works, learning all the players, learning all the team, you know what I mean? So when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay, I was hurt. I was sad. I was in my feelings for a little bit. You know what I mean? But I do love Tom, and I wish him success in Tampa Bay. I don't hold any resentment for him. I don't want him to, have a bad season. I want him to have a good season. You know what I mean? I'm still going to work with the Patriots, though. But Tom, he's always going to have a place in my heart. You know what I mean?
I said the same thing of, I hope Tom Brady throws 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, but I hope the Tampa Bay Bucks go 0-16. I don't care about that team.
Exactly. I will always be on Tom's side. I will love him forever because he changed the way I view. I love football. I'm a massive football fan because of Tom. So.
You know what's funny is actually, I think we're actually the same age because I was in 5th grade in 2001 when they won the Super Bowl that year.
Yep.
So there you go. Do you feel that people out in LA call you a bandwagon for the Patriots? Do people ever come up to you if you're wearing your Pats gear and try to like, oh, you just like them because of Tom Brady?
Yeah, not the people that know me. The people that know me know I'm from Massachusetts, and they know I've been rocking with him forever. So Granted, they are always prepared to get into a heated conversation when they talk about the Patriots with me, because I come ready with that, because I'm like a diehard Patriots fan. But no bandwagon nonsense here. They know the deal. They know the deal.
Who are you picking between Jarrett Stidham and Cam Newton that's going to be your week 1 starter?
So, I don't know that much about Jarrett Stidham. I know he had a great preseason last year. And I also know that Cam Newton has taken Carolina to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So he's definitely a starting quarterback. I don't know where they're at now. Cam didn't play a lot of last season. But I know he's been working. And I know Jarrett's been working. And left up to, who can really, really do the job the best at the end of the day or in training. But right now, based off of the evidence that I have, I would go Cam. But I don't know what's going on. I don't know where Jarrett Stidham's at in his game. I don't even know where Cam Newton is at in his training right now, as far as him bouncing back from his injuries and like getting ready for the next season. But if I were to pick, I'm gonna go with Cam Newton.
Marlon, that's the wrong answer. It's going to be Jarrett Stidham, just as an FYI.
That's great for Jarrett.
I want to get kind of serious now and talk about this. Racism in both America, racism and how it's being dealt with in the NFL. Even, in the NBA, we've been seeing the Black Lives Matter where they have that on the court. The teams have been locking arms and kneeling. Just a couple of things of background just to kind of fill you in on my own, because we don't really know each other at all. Couple episodes ago, we had TJ Houshmandzadeh on, former Bengal, played with Chad Ochocinco. We asked his, take on this as well, too. Marlon, I grew up in Lawrence, Massachusetts. So I was up there, and that's a heavily Hispanic population. So for my eyes, and just speaking about me, because I understand the color of my skin, and I understand the white privilege in society as well. But also as me as a human being, I was kind of a minority in my city, and it's about human being in contact with each other. Just to catch you up on speed is a couple weeks ago on our YouTube channel, they announced that the NFL was going to do Lift Every Voice and Sing, and that's the Black national anthem. They're going to be playing that prior to week 1, like all across the league. Players are probably going to kneel. We posted it on our YouTube page, and, we only have like 2,000 subscribers. At the time, we had like 500. It had 4,000 downvotes and probably like 500 upvotes. And all the comments, there's like 3,000 comments of just, and these are people from all around the world, United States, just bashing the NFL. I just feel like there's a lot of uneducated people out there. At the same time, is this helping the leagues by the kneeling? Is it making a difference? I know some players have been outspoken saying, I don't think so. Just kind of, and I know it's very vague and I'm dancing around a little bit. Just give us even your sense of what has happened to you, even being out in LA or even in the Boston area, of racism that's happened to you, to educate our viewers and our listeners, and also in sports as well too, and how you view it. Is it making a difference? Is the voices are getting out there? Are we being educated?
Right. So I went to high school in a predominantly white town in Templeton, Massachusetts, which is next to Gardner, Central Mass, that area, right? And for me, a lot of like the racial stereotypes at that point, as far as like driving while black and like being pulled over by the cops and all that kind of stuff. At first, it was all just a joke, like like I'm gonna get pulled over because I'm black. But then things started really happening in high school, where I became known amongst a lot of my friends because there was only a few of us black kids at the high school. And it was very known that for us, and specifically for me, that I'd be pulled over way more than my friends. By just giving you insight, by my freshman year of college, I've already racked up 19 citations. And that's just citations. This is not talking about the times where nothing was written or whatever that. And I didn't really understand at first. I had the talks with my parents and stuff like that. I've had to talk with my father about police officers. That's something that young black kids go through. You know, I mean, we have that talk with our parents. What's going to happen when you get pulled over? How's it going to go down, and how you should act? There was a point where me and one of my white friends were driving to football practice. It was like a Central Mass All-Star football practice out in Westboro, right? My white friend was driving the car. I had my football lowers on, and I had this hooded sweatshirt. I had my hoodie on, and I just took a nap. I was like, all right, this is like a solid 40-minute drive. I'm just going to take a nap before practice. We get pulled over, and immediately I'm thinking, oh, my friend was speeding. My window, knocks on the window, and then he's already got his hand on his gun, and he's like, get out right now. And I'm like, yo, what's up? Whoa, whoa, whoa. And that's when I get out the car, and he grabs me and throws me in the back of the car and starts searching me and then searching my area and whatnot. And my friend who is driving is completely confused because he's like, he hasn't seen this before. It's all been, to everyone, it's just a joke. Ha ha, driving while black. You're going to get pulled over, Marlon, because you're black. But now he's watching it happen. And I'm getting searched. He's searching my area. And I'm nervous because he's got his hand on his gun and is acting very aggressive towards me. And then he tells me, oh, you moved funny while y'all drove by. And and I'm like, yo, I was asleep. I didn't even see you. And he was trying to tell me, oh, it's a suspicion. We gotta take caution, these things. I'm like, I don't know about that. You didn't say a word to my friend who was driving. Why isn't he suspicious? You know what I mean? So that's when things started really setting into me like, yo, there's actually a problem here. And then since then, I would get continuously pulled over in my hometown, continuously pulled over by Massachusetts State Police. Unfortunately, I've been at gunpoint twice by police at this point. I did notice a difference when I moved to LA. I've only been pulled over like 2 times out here, but it's been a totally different experience because LA is very diverse. You know what I mean? A lot of the police officers are a mixture of Hispanic, Asian, black, white, very, very mixed out here. It's a different experience. Then there was a Thanksgiving where I flew back to Massachusetts for the holidays. I got off the plane, and it was like midnight. Everyone left the terminal. I had to charge my phone. I was just charging my phone there. And then after everyone left the terminal, I get surrounded by Massachusetts State Police. So I'm like, oh, I'm home. You know what I mean? Like, I'm home. Here we go again. You know, so for me, it's definitely been a situation where like because of my experience, I know that there's a problem. I'm very aware there's a problem. Because of my black skin, I'm gonna be a victim of this racial injustice, you know, that's been going on in the justice system for a long time with the police. And it's really, when it comes to the sports and the NFL, like, I understood when Colin Kaepernick took the knee. I understood that, and I backed that because I know what that feels like. You know what I mean? I know what it feels like to fear for my life. And then also people not understanding, people not getting that, people not understanding that there's a real risk now. So now when I see the NFL adding like the Black National Anthem and things like that, I'm like, that's great, but is that going to help me the next time I'm in an altercation with the police? Is that really going to help me? Or is this just rah-rah? So I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I'm not going to be like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
But the next time I'm pulled over and it's with police officers that, you know, are either racist and don't know, or a victim of systemic racism where they're like treating me unfairly because of my skin color and they don't know about that, is that going to help me in that situation? So what I would really like to see is, instead of just cheering us on, do something for real. Like, really do something. You know, I remember when there was an altercation in a Starbucks. I don't know if you remember this. There was like these 2 black guys in a Starbucks, and they were like real estate agents. They were having a meeting. And then the Starbucks employee called the police on him, and there was a big deal at Starbucks, right? And then after that, Starbucks actually threw all their employees into like a retraining program to teach them about prejudice and whatnot. And obviously, it's not going to make things absolutely perfect, but I like the effort, So because Starbucks actually did something, I was like, all right, good for you, Starbucks, for actually trying to do something instead of rah.
It feels at this point it's almost like a PR move. Like we have to do something in terms of the leagues, even in the NBA. Sometimes it feels like that. I think that with the NBA they have the names on the back of the jerseys with the logo with the sayings, whatever, Black Lives Matter, education reform, freedom. Some people have been asking, where can I buy this? Mm-hmm. And I'm very interested to see how the leagues are going to react over the next couple months, whether they start selling merchandise and if they profit off of that. And I think that's something that needs to be looked at through a microscope. And I'm sure these leagues are also not doing that because you don't want to profit off of this. I got a feeling, and again, this is just me being a little outspoken, that there are scumbags out there that are wanting to make money. It's kind of like the Boston Strong, where everyone got together through the Boston bombings. And then what are all these T-shirts being sold for? Yeah, profits are going to go out to help families, but these companies are out there making money off of a saying. And I hope that it doesn't turn into that. And that's something to keep
money. I really do hope that the money goes to like funds and charities and proceeds and whatnot. I really hope so. But at the end of the day, it's like hard to actually know. You know?
Exactly. You're not gonna. You're just gonna. Here's my thing. I mean, Robert Kraft is a great owner, great businessman. At the same time, I think the Patriots over the years, especially under Bill Belichick, it's not about the color of your skin. It's about how you are as a player. That's what it is. He doesn't care what. And I believe that the Patriots have been doing these talks for a while now. As a team, they and it's. Something I was going to say about Robert Kraft is even someone like him hasn't done enough where he'll donate $1 million to Donald Trump's campaign, 4 years ago. And then, this stuff is coming up about Black Lives Matter. We have to react. Okay, I'm going to give 10 players $100,000, each, over the next 10 months. And I looked at that because everyone's blind, especially when it comes to sports. Like, if the Patriots can do no wrong. I look at that. I'm like, you donated $1 million here to Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. You donate, $1 million over 10 months, total. They kind of outweighs each other. Like, it just kind of washes it. You're not doing anything. I feel like it's got to come down to these owners being more outspoken. It's got to come down to these billionaires who pretty much control our country that have to be the ones out there that are making that difference and putting it out there. What was that?
Who've been profiting during this whole pandemic, their pockets are getting fat.
And I was going to say, this is funny, where I've been doing a little dabbling in the stock market here and there, and I know they're talking about the new stimulus check that's supposed to come out, and there's a lot of people that need that for rent and to just survive. And it's coming at the same time where Apple's going to release their new phone, and they know what they're doing. They just know that a lot of people they want to keep us uneducated. They want to make us not realize what's going on in our society. I'm glad that the pandemic has put us in this awkward state, and that's what it is. I said this to TJ Hujmanzada. We need to have these awkward conversations. That's what it's going to be. And it's actually been great on our platform because what happened was on Ride the Wave Media was I had an individual come to me and say, this was when the riots were going on. And this individual was like, you need to talk about this stuff. You need to use your platform to put this stuff out there, but cover both sides of the spectrum because we know what our followers are. We understand. We got a lot of hate for some of the stuff we post in terms of we'll post something pro Black Lives Matter and people will just shit on it. They don't care about it. And we're trying to educate through that. And we've done our talks here as a whole, but this is what I've been liking about the podcasting because I've been really focusing on this year is having any individual come on here and when it's athletes or even internet famous celebrity and to just talk to talk about these things because we need to have these conversations because look at the difference just looking at us, white and black. That's what it is. And we need to open up this. And I feel that I'm still being educated, but at least I'm opening it up and saying, Marlon, educate me on this. Give me some of your life experiences. Let me sit here and listen to you and, close my eyes and put myself in your situation. Because I'm honestly never going to be in it. It is funny that it's not funny, but just driving while black, right? And I've been taught, because I work in the law enforcement world myself, they teach you, hands on the steering wheel, up, yes, sir, no, sir. This isn't Mass State Police, or you're dealing with any local law enforcement in Massachusetts. Yes, sir, no, sir. If you want to reach for your license, can I please reach in there? It's like you have to bow down to the authority. And I've noticed, I drove a shitbox car for a couple of years, and I got pulled over multiple times, and they never done anything. And I know that when I drive off, that's white privilege. Because I'm sure that if I was Hispanic, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Black, Asian, I probably would have gotten a ticket. They would have probably told me, why the fuck are you driving this shitbox car? We're gonna arrest you. And I feel like I've gotten away in society, and I understand that. So, again, I just think as a society, we need to have these uncomfortable conversations. I can't say that. Uncomfortable conversations to educate. And this isn't going away. And segregation, I said this to TJ, segregation was not that long ago. It was 60 years ago. So,
my father was in there. You know what I mean? Like, he was born in 62, but still was, there was still a lot of like racial injustices going on then with segregation in Cambridge. He lived in Somerville. He lived in Somerville at the time. And there was a lot of racism back then. Like, he tells me some crazy stories. I'm like, whoa. If that was caught on camera now, whew. Ruby Bridges is still alive, yo.
So again, I said this was that racism has existed. It's never gone away. It's just you're seeing more of it because of this thing I'm holding up, which is my iPhone or an Android, whatever the fuck you want to. Because of recording, you can be recorded at all times. It's starting to get out there. And it's sad to see it, but it does need to get out there so we can watch it and learn from it and not do that. And it does come down to parenting. It comes down to your community and where you grow up in. I'm hoping that our generation, Marlon, being, 28, 29, 30 years old, when we have kids, I'm having 2 twins. I'm having twins coming, baby twins, girls, in 2 to 3 weeks. They're coming. And I want to teach them, like, this is what's going on in society. Don't be like, don't be racist. Understand people. It's about human beings and respect. And I have a grandmother that just passed away last October, but because she was born in 1920 and she was 95 years old, she was super racist. And it's like you chalk it up like that's your generation type of deal. But then she instills that to say my father's, got good values into me, but it goes down. It keeps going down and transferring it. So it's going to take generations before we can really, really, truly fix this as a society. And it's just learning. And it's tough you're out in California. We're out and I'm in Massachusetts. And then you see the South and how backwards it can be down there as well, too.
Ooh, yeah.
I actually have a funny story. I love wrestling. So I went to New Orleans for WrestleMania a couple of years ago. And I had this woman, let's say, I went to a strip club. She liked me. She came up to me and was like, do you want a lap dance, whatever? And I really didn't want to. I just wanted to be there, look, whatever. And she pulled the race card on me. Oh, it's because I'm black that you don't want that. And I was like, fuck that. Let's go then. So, like, she swindled me into, like, spending over $1,000 to go to the champagne room. I end up like just becoming friends just because, talking. I'm down in New Orleans for a couple of days. I brought her to a wrestling event, Monday Night Raw, and everyone was looking at me weird because it's like, and this isn't now you're in the South, you're in Louisiana. People come from all over to WrestleMania. They come from different areas, and they see the interracial couple. And just this is me stepping back when at that time too, and just being like, it's crazy that people really have to stop out of their day to make a comment or to make a gross look at you or something like that. And it's like, mind your business, dude. Like, it doesn't affect you personally. I think that's another thing with these individuals out there, these Karens of the world and the ones, it doesn't really truly affect you. Like, I'm trying to say it in the sense of, don't come out and say something that you're not educated on. Sit there and learn and understand it and shut your mouth. And if you're going to speak up for the right side of it, where there should be equality. in our society today, that you should understand if someone's being treated wrongly, that you should speak up about that. And I think that needs to be out there. I just mumble sometimes and rant. That's what happens. But I think it's good that we understand that. Let's move on. Let's move on. To the NBA a little bit. Celtics. Now, when the Celtics come out to LA, you go to Lakers games, Clippers games, and all that.
I haven't yet. I've been to a Lakers game in Boston.
Yeah.
But I've not been to any games at the
Do you keep up with the Celtics at all? Are you big into the Celtics?
I'm very big in the Celtics, especially when it comes playoff time. I definitely keep tabs on them all season. I watch as many games as I can during the season. And yeah, I love the Celtics. I love when Celtics in the playoffs. I went to the Celtics game when Ray Allen got that 3-point record over
Reggie Miller.
Reggie Miller. Yeah. I was at that game. I think it was against the Lakers too. Yeah, it was against the Lakers, I believe. Yeah, and yeah, man, this year it's hard. I watched the first couple games, and I was like, this is different, man. This is so different.
It's I said it's harder because you're not running off the adrenaline of the crowd sometimes. It's just literally street ball. You're playing pickup with your boys. Like, that's what it feels like. And yeah, you have TV cameras and all this and that. You might have the little Zoom, in the background with the fans. But, if you're down in a game, sometimes that crowd gets you back into it. It's tough. The Celtics, depending on when we released this, a couple nights ago, just blew like a 20-point lead to the Trailblazers. And because that you don't have that extra adrenaline coming from a crowd or something like that, it could hurt you. It could definitely hurt you. I want to know your thoughts. I have this Taco Fall tattoo right here. Taco Fall. I don't know if you actually knew this. So last summer, last July, I got flown out to LA for a Thursday Night Football commercial.
Yeah, I saw the commercial.
So I ended up, they said, we'll send you back to Boston. I was like, no, send me to Vegas. Me and my buddy went to Vegas to the Summer League and dressed up in taco costumes. And we went to the Summer League. Yeah. And we got to meet Taco Fall that way. And it was cool. It was cool. Anytime you see those taco costumes, it's this guy right here, the taco.
Yeah, I was saying, y'all were on TV, getting interviewed and whatnot in the background. I seen that.
Yeah. I think, and that's what I like about sports. That's my entertainment. That's my getaway from what goes on in my life. My real job and what's happening is stupid shit like that. And that's the skits I like to do. Red Sox. Let's talk Red Sox Bruins. You have any love for them at all?
I watched them in the playoffs.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So they're I watch the Bruins and Red Sox every time they get to the playoffs or World Series or finals. I always tune into that because I'm always trying to support. But it's kind of like the Celtics where there's so many games, especially with the Red Sox. There's so many games.
I can't sit down through a whole season like that.
I can't watch all these games. Goddamn, But yeah, I support, but I lean towards more the Celtics and the Patriots. Definitely Patriots #1 overall over anything.
You've been to Gillette Stadium a couple times, catch a couple games there. What do you think about the atmosphere at Gillette Stadium? What do you think about the tailgate experience?
Yeah, I love it. The last time I was there, it was when the Patriots played Houston. It was a season opener game. And, bro, it's something about the New England atmosphere that I just really, really relate to, and it really resonates with me. I get the vibe. I understand the vibe. And, yeah, man, I love it, I love it. I love just you can go into that CBS Sports Network bar after the games and hanging out with my boys and shit. It's a good time.
Marlon, any final thoughts for you out there? Anything that you would like to talk about? Something to keep an eye on over the next month or two?
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about this specifically.
Yeah.
The next NFL season. Now, I know the NBA is in a bubble and everything's going good with them. However, MLB, if you heard about the Marlins, shit's starting to go south. And I haven't heard anything about what the NFL is going to do about COVID or how they're going to get through the season without having any serious dilemmas. What do you think about this season? You think it's actually going to be a smooth sailing, or how do you think it's going to play out?
I have been back and forth on this numerous times. So at first, back in May, I have somebody that works for ESPN, and he was like, I'm letting you know there's going to be no fans in the stands. Like, there's absolutely none of these fans. And I know that some of these owners are still saying, like, oh, we might have fans. We might have limited capacity. The NFL doesn't want it as a whole. They just want to avoid any fans in the stands. I look at the NFL as they had 4 months to figure this out, and then they don't know what they're doing, and they just do everything last minute.
That's what I'm saying, yo.
The problem with the NFL right now is I think they probably thought, oh, there's no way sports are going to happen. The NBA's figured it out. The NHL's figured it out. The MLB tried doing their thing. That's what they have to look at, the MLB, because of the way the teams travel and stuff. And there's way more players in the NFL. They need a product week one. They need TV revenue ASAP. And I think that's why they're trying to force this week one to happen. I have also seen that the NFLPA and the NFL are at a disagreement because players are pretty much saying, hey, if we play one game this season and then all of a sudden you guys cancel, we want our contracts fully guaranteed for the year. Like, we don't want this, like, we'll get paid 33% or X amount of games. And I think they're still fighting at that. And it wouldn't shock me if the week one gets pushed back to October and they just say, we got to figure this out. This is the next step. I think them canceling the preseason games was their way to get these players into their own bubbles, like Gillette Stadium, LA, Miami, whatever it ends up being. If there are positive COVID tests, then they can just put them out for 2 weeks, have them come back. We'll see. There's zero chance that this NFL will get to a Super Bowl this year. There's zero chance. I work at Mass General Hospital, so I've gotten to see some things, and this is my own opinion, is that there's going to be another round of COVID cases that come up this fall and this winter, and I just think that the cases are going to uptick, and they're just going to be forced to cancel. I think it's almost inevitable that's going to happen because these players, like, they're not like the NBA where they're in their own bubble in a controlled atmosphere. These players are going to go home, go see their kids. They're going to go see their wife. They're going to go out to eat during the week. They're going to do their normal routine, maybe grocery shop, and you're going to be exposed within the community around you, and you don't know who has what nowadays. Now, Massachusetts has been doing a great job themselves controlling the COVID cases and whatnot. You have Miami Dolphins coming up week one to Gillette Stadium. Miami's the hot spot right now. And the Marlins, obviously the Marlins got it.
Yeah.
Do you really trust that the Dolphins players are going to come up there and you're not going to catch COVID? Because I'm like, you're going to be exposed to this. It's going to be interesting. I don't think they get through. I just think that they're so money hungry. They're like, we need to get a product out there ASAP. It was the same thing for the MLB. I think they really didn't want to start the season, but there was a lot of pushback, and Manfred just was like, here you go, let's just do 60 games, and probably by either the time we release this podcast or next week, they're done. Like, I don't see the MLB lasting at all. I'm excited the NBA's figured it out. Like, it's been a little bit, these 8 games, whatever they're doing, doesn't mean anything to me. It's just little seeding purposes. Once those playoffs come, you're going to get excited. And same thing with the NHL. Once the NHL playoffs really happen, get going, you'll be excited for that. But I don't know. Football, something that we've had, Patriots have numerous opt-outs already. Jason McCourty and Devin McCourty, they've been so vocal about other players are screwing this up. You're going out to the gym. You're going out doing this stuff in society. You're going to party. Us players are taking this shit serious, dude. There's millions at stake here. We have to provide for our families. So I don't see it happening. The NFL is going to try everything they can to do it. And, you see Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady was chirping to the NFL and was like, we need to make sure we're strong, on this, and we have the COVID cases right. It's like, Tom, you were the same guy that was practicing down in Tampa, unsanctioned practices, while COVID's like the hot thing down in Florida, and like you're doing this way. So I don't know. It's going to come down to when the season hits. Someone from the front office told me reality hit for some of these players when they had to come and get tested. And they're like, oh, shit, this is real serious. And it scares some of them. And I think that it will take a couple major players that have to step. Like Pat Mahomes was a little vocal, too, saying, like, we had 4 months to get this done. And what the hell's going on? You need someone like him. You need someone like a Brady. You need one of these top guys to either opt out and say, well, we can't do this. Or, unfortunately, they have to get COVID. And then once they get COVID, just like Rudy Gobert, once one player gets it, we're shutting everything down. And I think that's what's going to happen with the NFL.
Highly likely. That's highly likely that one player is going to get COVID.
It has to be a major player, though. They ain't going to care about your bench warmer player. Like, it has to be a major starter.
That's not good. Everyone should be just treated on the same level, no matter what amount of fame that player has. Like, this is not to be fucked with. This is disease. You know what I mean?
But some of these younger players, or the younger players and newer players, it's out there historically. The NFL, you go in there, you have a short career, 3 or 4 years maybe. You don't make crazy money if you're, an inexperienced young player. And a lot of these guys end up blowing their money like afterwards. They don't have. So a lot of these guys need to work. They need to be playing because they need to make that money. Where some of these other guys who are a little bit more cushier at the top be like, I can opt out. It's not a big deal. So that's where it's going to come down to too. Like if certain players opt out, hey, we're still going to roll with this, but it's got to come from the top. I mean, imagine Tom Brady had COVID. They would shut it down. They would just be like, nah, we're done.
Yeah, you need those. I get what you're saying there. Like, obviously, we should treat everyone on the same level.
Yeah.
But for it to really be enforced, unfortunately, you need one of the kingpins. You know what I mean? That's what I said about like Donald Trump. Like, once he starts wearing the mask, that's finally going to get a lot of people to start wearing the mask. You know what I mean? Like, you need like someone like that everyone knows to be like, all right, now this is serious, So I agree with you there. And I already mentally prepared myself to not see a Super Bowl,
Yeah.
So
I mean, the Patriots weren't going to make it there this year anyways. I mean, I'm always pro Patriots, everything. They're going to go to Super Bowl every year. I understand they were not going to make it this year. If you had to make, let's say the season right now, it happens, all 16 games. There's an extra now playoff team that makes it 7 playoff teams. Who do you see as your Super Bowl matchup today, right now?
That's a great question. I know I'm going to actually go with Kansas City again, but it's going to be Baltimore and Kansas City in the AFC Championship. And then on the NFC, it's such a toss-up. Like, I really love New Orleans, Seattle, and San Francisco. Like, those are very, very, very strong teams. So I can't really say an NFC team, but I would go with Kansas City again.
Okay. I actually like that Baltimore, Kansas. I have Baltimore. I think Lamar Jackson needs to get over that hump. This is going to be his third, it's like pretty much second and a half year, but it's, he's the MVP last year. It's your time. You got to get to at least the Super Bowl. Yeah. And then I like the Seattle pick on the other side. I think Russell Wilson, what they're trying to do over there, don't be shocked if Antonio Brown somehow lands on Seattle Seahawks, even though he's suspended 8 games.
Yeah.
They need to get those weapons around Wilson because his time is ticking in the NFL. Yeah. He knows that. He needs that extra Super Bowl win to really cement his Hall of Fame career. And it'll be interesting to see that. And in basketball terms, let's just talk basketball then too. Like, who do you see going to the championship?
You know what this is what I thought at the beginning of the season. I thought it could be another classic Celtics-Lakers thing. And I would have loved to see that, like, full force without a pandemic. And I was already decided that I was going to go to those games. You know what I mean? I still think that that's a strong possibility. It's just Giannis is the problem.
Yeah.
Giannis is the main problem in fucking that up, I think.
I'm hoping to see Celtics Bucks, playoff series, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good because Kemba's already been on a minute restriction anyways, and I like Brad Stevens. I think he's a good coach. He's a player's coach, and he's got that team has a lot of great chemistry around them. In terms of Lakers, they need LeBron to go to the finals. It's just like they always need that. Just like ratings for Tom Brady, like they do need Brady in the championship, but they found Pat Mahomes now. They got other guys that are starting to step up and they can start taking that role over there. Championship. So, you said you were going to go. Have you ever been to a NBA finals? Have you ever been to Super Bowls?
No. I've only been to like NBA playoffs. I was at the Celtics and the Hawks a little while ago. And that's about it. I can't afford those tickets. Yeah. Especially Super Bowl tickets. I can't afford that. I need to know a player. That's what I'm trying to do with social media. I'm trying to get a lot of NFL friends. I have a few, and I'm trying to get some more NFL friends, to get me in there. Like, yo, I'm part of your family. You know what I mean? I'm part of your family.
I was already sliding your name to Ty Law, by the way. I actually have a pretty good relationship with him. So actually, shout out, because today, when we're filming this, is the 1-year anniversary of him getting the Hall of Fame. So real quick, what happened was I was very new to Instagram, and I had a couple thousand followers. I found Ty Law's Instagram, and I was like, I have more followers than Ty Law, dude. Like, we grew up on that guy. Like, what the hell? And I went down to his trampoline park, and that was in where was it? Warwick, Rhode Island. he thought I was some sort of social media genius. Like, oh, like, okay. So we became kind of friends and like gave me his number. We talk. I'm very, very relaxed with him. Like, I'm not going to, over time not last year, but 2 seasons ago, I said, I'm making a campaign for you. It's hashtag Tie for Hall of Fame, HOF. All season long, I just kept promoting like, hey, when the votes come, like, let's get Ty's name out there. Let's get Ty's name out there. Anything I do, I try to benefit off of him. I want to make sure he benefits. He ended up getting into the Hall of Fame. I went down to Atlanta for the Super Bowl. I didn't go into the game because, yes, it's very expensive to go into that game. I was there the night that he got selected in there. His family was very gracious to invite me out to Canton last year and get that. Right now, Ty Law is working on he's working on he's partnered up with V1 Vodka, which is a vodka that's made in Massachusetts. He's getting into the alcohol scene. He's getting a liquor scene. I was like, hey, I have a little interview today with Marlon Webb. If you don't know him, look him up because there could be something there, especially with your love of sports and you want to build those relationships. That's what it is networking. And that's what this is all about too in life. If you do social media or if you're trying to start a blog or a podcast, networking, you got to network a lot. So there's money to be made in little areas, but it's about being plugged. I mean, even me, I go to all these games. I'm not a season ticket holder. I have players that will reach out and be like, oh, I'll slide you 2 tickets to this game. Oh, I'll slide you 2 tickets to that game. Or I'll get you post-game passes. Like, no worries about it. And that's what's fun. Like, especially if it's not given to you, you kind of earn it because of what you do. But it feels good being there, going to these games, and just being like, I didn't have to pay to get in, but I earned to be here. I mean, you make friends, you benefit with each other off of it, and we'll do something. I'm going to look out for you. I think there's something there, you know what I mean? If I can slide Ty Law your way, it makes me feel good because it's like, obviously, it's a layup. I mean, you have great following on all these social media platforms. You love football. And for him, who's trying to get his brand out there, it's like, here you go, put you guys together. And I sit back and I watch, and I just like, this is awesome. So
and I just try not to fanboy Ty Law.
Yeah. It's crazy because I did at first, and then any of these players I meet, you fanboy a little bit, and then over time, it's just they're normal people. Like they're just like literally just normal. So what's been great about here, Marlon, is I go to I Love Boston Sports. They have a store at the Braintree Mall. So we'll go there and we get to meet some of these players. You get to talk with them and shit like that. Dietrich Weiss was somebody that I got to really work with over this past year and get to know him. And he's fighting for a job this year. I mean, he's an unrestricted free agent after this year. Gunnar Olszewski, number 80, like I got to meet him. And you know what's cool is he follows me now on Instagram. You talk here and there, and it's just cool. It's just that's my world, and that's what's awesome about that. So I would definitely in the future like to do something for you and maybe try to get a little hookups here and there because you deserve to go out to these games. You got to go out to these games. You got to have some fun, dude.
Oh,
man. I'll have to fly out to LA when the pandemic's over and we'll go to a game out there.
Yeah, man, for real. And then brand new stadium.
I know, yeah, brand new stadium. Yeah, I can't wait for that. Marlon, I'm gonna end this because we hit 1 hour, dude, and I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on here. Again, Marlon Webb. Last thing, do you want to plug anything? Anything that we need to look forward to?
Not really. Just everyone stay safe, stay healthy, love your neighbor. And if there's anything you don't understand about your neighbor, try to understand him. You know what I mean? So all love out there. Love and positivity.
I'm glad we could take the time to understand your history of social media, also your history of being Black in America. I think that's great to be educated, and also just some sports talk. This was great. This was awesome. I really do appreciate you coming on, man. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate you.
That was Marlon Webb. Again, we really appreciate Marlon for you coming on. For anybody that stuck around the entire interview, that's his fan base. It was a great little back and forth that we had there. Now you're probably going to turn us off and not listen to the rest of this because you're probably not a Patriots fan or you're probably not a Boston fan. But we appreciate Marlon for coming on, and we'll get you back on down the line soon. As I said before we did the interview, I want to read a tweet that came out from our old pal Fitzy. And if you don't know who Fitzy is, Fitzy's like the leader of Pats Nation. Fitzy has been the Patriots quote-unquote super fan for over the last 20 years. He's been doing this, and you can listen to Fitzy on WEEI every so often in the mornings, and he has a show in the Saturday afternoon hour. Caiden Bodak. I saw this tweet, earlier today on Friday afternoon, and it says Fitzy has heard from his Patriots sources. Quote, Patriots are taking it slow with Cam Newton, although his shoulder looks good. Jarrett Stidham is dropping dimes, making all the right reads, throwing darts. Jarrett Stidham is the best looking player at Patriots camp. Caiden Bodak, do you believe Jarrett Stidham is the best looking player at Patriots camp based on what we can be able to see?
Yeah, well, I'm not there, obviously, and if Fitzy sources say he is, then he is. I mean, that's a good thing to hear. And the other thing I want to bring up real quick is you sent a video. We have a Ride the Wave chat, and you sent a video in the chat, and I talked about this. We actually recorded Boston Power Hour this morning, and I had brought this up there too. There was this drill where they were doing some stretching, some kicking or whatever, some drill like that, and we had Stidham follow Hoyer around and do the right thing. And then you got Cam Newton just kind of dancing in between reps, stuff like that. So not only is Jarrett Stidham supposedly the best quarterback in this camp right now, but he's also showing me that he's the most mature. That Cam Newton thinks he has this job won and he doesn't, and Bill Belichick sees that.
Let me drop this to you, Caiden. I'm sick and tired of people coming at me and saying I'm racist because I'm picking Stidham over Cam Newton. And look at me. Look what I'm wearing right now. I'm wearing a fucking Super Cam hoodie that you can get at GuyBostonSports.com. I support Cam Newton. I like his talent. We know what his talent is. And you're a huge Auburn fan. You know the Cam Newton talent's there. The fact is this. Cam Newton's 31 years old, and people are relying on his talent that happened 5 years ago when he won an MVP, and times have changed. Do I want to see Cam Newton be successful? Absolutely. But this is a quarterback competition. It rightfully so is a quarterback competition, and not a lot of people are giving Stidham that credit. So we have to look at it this way, Caiden, and I'm sure that you've listened to Boston's Big Three, and again, I'll keep repeating myself over and over again. Stidham was given the job. Like, he was handed the job when Brady left. And the Patriots were comfortable enough to say, you know what? This kid has the job. We're so comfortable that he's going to have it that we're not drafting anybody. They didn't draft anybody to replace Jarrett Stidham or compete with him this year. They brought Brian Hoyer in to mentor Jarrett Stidham. That was the purpose. Hoyer's not winning a starting job here. And Hoyer knows that. The fact is this, though. Cam Newton was a free agent, just like Jameis Winston was, and they had their eyes on him. If Cam Newton was going to be the guy this year, Caiden, they would have got him in March. They wouldn't have dicked around. They would have paid him. They would have made it work, or they would have went to him and said, this is what you're worth, and maybe Cam wants to test the market. Hey, we'll come back to you. But those months of March, April, May, and early June, you lost with the team, giving him the playbook, showing him everything possible, and him to start getting reps, and like Stidham was getting. Stidham went to Gillette Stadium back in March, and he stayed there. And that's the thing that people aren't giving Stidham credit for is the guy flew up from Texas in March before the pandemic actually started. He stayed in Foxborough. But the problem with Stidham is he kind of did get a little too comfortable. When you have Tom Brady down in Florida working his ass off in early May, and then and you know what? You can't discredit Stidham. He's 24 years old. He's posting pictures at the beach with his wife. He's on the Cape. Even though he's been working, he probably worked all week. He's just showing that. People are going to perceive that. This is like, oh, this guy's not working. As Brady's showing that off all over social media that he's doing this. He did that in May. And then in June, what did he do? He went down to Texas for his anniversary, which who knows if that was pre-approved or not. He could have went to Belichick and said, hey, I'm going to take a trip. Like, that's what I'm doing. Like, I have to be down there. And I've said this, not a lot of people know this, that Stidham's wife's father, so his father-in-law, is the CEO of the Houston Rockets. So I'm pretty sure Stidham's going to be like, I'm going down to Texas because I have to go do this family event. Like, that's what it's going to be. Tom Brady sacrificed 20 years of his life and his family for the New England Patriots. A lot of these guys have done that. And the way I looked at it is, Belichick doesn't care about your family. He cares about football. Like, that's what it is. And the timing of the Cam Newton signing was very strange because Stidham was down in Texas. He did it to kind of push Stidham and say, kid, like, your job is not safe anymore. Like, if you think it is. Since the Cam Newton signing, people could say, oh, you're overanalyzing it. Jarrett Stidham got his ass right back up to Foxborough. He did all these little drills, and people go, oh, it's just bench players. Oh, it's not important. No, he did all these little individual group meetings and said, hey, we're going to work this out. And he started showing. That was the first step, Caiden. He started showing okay, I know I have to compete for this job. Then what does he do? He stays away from social media. And social media, people could say you're overanalyzing it. He's 25 years old now. His birthday just happened, and he didn't post at all. He posted two things. He liked the Patriots post on Instagram, and he commented on his father-in-law's post, which, again, his father-in-law is the CEO of the Houston Rockets, commented a thank you for his birthday. That's all he did. No story post, no comments on anything, no liking anything. He's doing that because he knows he fucked up earlier this year, a couple months ago, and he knows that I need to stay as quiet as possible and do every right thing to earn the starting job. He has to earn it, just like Cam Newton needs to earn it. Now, going down to that video that you're talking about, Cam Newton is dancing. He's feeling himself. And what did you say exactly? You said that Cam Newton is acting like he has the confidence that he knows this is not a competition, that Cam Newton knows that he has the starting job. Belichick is not like that and does not operate that way. In that video, you see Cam Newton walking, vibing, dancing. He's getting loosened up. Hoyer is doing his thing, and who's right by his side? Stidham. Stidham is trying to stay just with him. Because who got the first team reps this past week? It was Brian Hoyer. It wasn't Cam Newton. It wasn't Jarrett Stidham. It was Brian Hoyer. And like you said, they're not going to tell Cam Newton, this is how we act. He's going to make you learn. And again, Rob Gronkowski came off that injury after Super Bowl 51. You're going into July, the Super Bowl 52 year. And Gronkowski, and it was all over radio, and I was trying to find the articles, and you can't because it's probably buried somewhere. Rob Gronkowski scores a touchdown, spikes in the end zone, does a dance. This is late July in training camp, and Belichick yells at him and says, what are you doing? We don't do this here, and made him take a lap. And that was kind of the downfall of Rob Gronkowski and the New England Patriots, where he kept saying this isn't fun anymore. The Patriots don't operate. And Belichick is not bending just for Cam Newton. For a one-year rental, by the way. He's not bending for Cam Newton.
Yeah, it's not like they signed him to max money or anything, too.
No. So he wants to see how Cam reacts. So the more that we've seen this week, when we can't see that much because everything's in-house during the Patriots. And again, today from Fitzy's little tweet, I said this as well. You're going to see some days are better for Stidham than Newton, and other days are better than Newton than Stidham. It's going to go back and forth. But just based on these little things that are going on, it holds more weight that Jarrett Stidham is your starter week 1. And I've said this, Caiden, that I would like to see how Cam Newton reacts to when he's not named the starter. Because the media is going to be all over Cam Newton. Why aren't you starting? How do you feel? This and that. You want to see how he breaks. Does he break? How does he act? Does he act professional? Because he could be the starter by week 3. Stidham can go out there and stink it up. Or Stidham could go out there and light it up. That's the thing. That's a motivational piece. And I've been preaching this. You've been preaching this. And it's just interesting now that we're starting to see it. And it's only a couple weeks later. Now, they should have had their first preseason game this past Thursday. It didn't happen. If they had 4 preseason games, Cam Newton starting this season. Yeah. That's enough time for him to start. The fact is this. Stidham knows the system. Stidham's been working out with this system for 2 years now, pretty much. It's been a year and a half. He knows what to do. And I just think that's why we're going to start seeing these little things pop off. And Cam Newton takes away any media pressure right now from Jarrett Stidham. No one's going to interview him. No one gives a shit what he's doing. That's a lot less pressure that he has to deal with. If he was the starter right now and they didn't sign Cam Newton, everyone's harping on Stidham. Is Stidham ready enough to handle all that media pressure? Tom Brady didn't have all that media pressure in his second year, even coming off of a Super Bowl championship. He still didn't have all that pressure. It was all in the defense. It was all on the other team. It was all on the team. It wasn't Tom Brady. So Tom Brady still had time to learn how to handle all that stuff. So, Caiden, tell me a little bit more about Jarrett Stidham. Talk to me about his Auburn days. Talk to me what sticks out about his gameplay that's going to make him the starter.
Yeah, so a couple things here. When I was watching, I've been an Auburn fan, obviously, and I don't like the coaching style of Gus Malzahn. And I had told everybody and their mother about how I could see Jarrett Stidham as a good NFL quarterback just but Malzahn just didn't let him throw the ball, and Malzahn was kind of more of a mobile quarterback, run 60-70% of the time, and Jarrett Stidham just can't do that for you. He can get out of situations better than Tom Brady could. He has more wheels than Tom did, but he's not Cam Newton in 2015. He can't do that, but he's a solid quarterback. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He overthrew that ball and hit Jamal Adams, but I mean that's his first throw in the NFL pretty much. I mean, what do you even expect from this guy?
It's crazy that people will keep harping, oh, he threw a pick six. He threw a pick six, he sucks. So that doesn't mean Tom Brady's washed up because he threw a pick six to end his Patriots career.
Yeah.
Like, no, it doesn't mean anything. It just means that, hey, he threw a pick six and that absolutely sucks and it didn't happen in garbage time. He threw it to Jamal Adams, and everyone knows Jamal Adams is like the best safety in the league. Mm-hmm. And it was a bad throw, and it was probably a bad read, and Stidham was probably nervous, and that happens. And guess what he does? He learns from it. He's still on the team a year later. It's not a big deal. And he could take that, and it happened early in a season where he can learn from that. And I'm sure that's a motivational tool to go out there to the fan base and say, oh, yeah, I threw a pick six, but I'm going to throw 3 touchdowns in week 1, and I'm going to win you guys over.
The other thing we were forgetting about here is, everybody is stuck on that one play, that one interception. I saw him in college. I thought he looked pretty polished, and then I thought he could really show his stuff if he had better coaching, but obviously that doesn't happen. But we are forgetting about his preseason. Remember preseason last year? He just lit it up, and we were like, oh, my God, this kid's good. Like, why is everybody forgetting about that?
How many fights did me and Dan Shea get into last year? Because here's the thing. And again, I was not Team Stidham last preseason. I was Team Hoyer. And we have to realize that they could only carry 2 quarterbacks. And I wanted Hoyer because I had that feeling it was Brady's last season. And I said, Brady is going to trust Brian Hoyer when he comes off the field and not Jarrett Stidham, because Jarrett Stidham's not going to know anything. He's not going to know his ass from his elbows. He's just going to trust Hoyer when he comes out, and he can say, Hoyer could go to him and say, this is what you did wrong, this is what you did wrong, this is what you did wrong. I also felt that Jarrett Stidham is not going to be mentored by Brady because Brady doesn't give a fuck. Brady was never mentoring the next guy. He's competing on his own. He'll probably, you can mimic his play style. Look at Garoppolo and Brissett and how they carry themselves in the pregame rituals and how they carry themselves towards the media. That's the stuff you can pick up from Tom Brady. But he's not truly mentoring you to take over his spot the next year. I looked at Jarrett Stidham as, I think he's going to be practice squad. But based on the way he played, and he was a 4th-round draft pick, you guys were preaching last year, Caiden, especially you. The guy's not going to practice squad. They have to hold him. He looks so good that another team's going to pick him up. And then when you look at Joe Stafford and what he's been saying this past year, if Jarrett Stidham stayed another year in college, the possibility of him going into the 2nd or 1st round this year was very high. He would have been right in the thick of things with these guys. And there are articles out there that Stidham was ahead of Tua in certain rankings, going in last college season. Stidham has it, and it's interesting now that it's a year later. He's had all this time to develop with the team. He knows the defense. He knows Ernie Adams. He has Brian Hoyer. They brought Hoyer in his 3rd stint in New England to train with Stidham. This is the guy. And Cam Newton is selling merch. Cam Newton is making his money. He's making his bread, and he's getting himself relevant. But this is going to be Stidham's job week 1.
Yeah, a couple more things. Like I obviously like Stidham, but we got guys like Jordan Haddock from Ride the Wave. Just they absolutely love Cam, and they're like, Cam's the week 1 starter. Graham Tuck is another one of those guys. And they're all, like you said earlier, stuck on that 2015 season. That was 5 years ago. We're saying that Cam's shoulder looks healthy. That's great, but there's no guarantee that this guy can stay healthy. A couple of years ago, when Cam played his, he only played 2 games last year, but in 2018 he played 14 games, and in 2017 he played 16 games. So in 2017, he had a completion percentage of about 59%, just a little over that. If you look at that, that's worse than guys like Jameis Winston. Guys like Tom Brady didn't even have a great year last year, and that's worse than him. That's worse than guys like Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins. So these guys who aren't Super Bowl caliber quarterbacks, and we're all of a sudden he's worse than them, and then all of a sudden he's just gonna bring the Patriots to the Super Bowl.
Don't give me the time of day of saying, oh, well, he's hurt. Well, Cam Newton's hurt. He's obviously not the same. No. No. Everybody in the league's hurt. There's no person that's 100%. Look at Pat Mahomes last year. That guy was hurt, and it showed plenty of times, and he still led a team to a Super Bowl. Cam Newton got hurt, yeah, and he suffered through it. There are people that get hurt, and they still are at the top of their game. Tom Brady's been hurt multiple times and had like torn meniscus or has a hand issue, and he's still playing at the top of his game. I looked at this. Cam Newton last year or 2 years ago, he looked like he lost the love of the game of football. And he looked like he was struggling, and that's it. He peaked, and his peak was 2015. And he knows it. And maybe he's stuck in that organization. This coming down to New England or coming up to New England is a breath of fresh air for Cam Newton. He has Bill Belichick. But Cam Newton has always been the guy. He's always been the number one guy. He had to go to Florida. And yes, he played under Tim Tebow. And he had to go and move to the JCO and win that championship. He's always been the guy. And he's been that for the last decade, right? The number one guy. You're not the guy here in New England. You're not the guy. They're selling it like he's the guy. He's not the guy. And I'll be interested to see how he handles that. Cam Newton, his last NFL win was in November of 2018, November 4th against the Bucs. His last touchdown throw was December of 2018. He's 0-8 in his last 8 starts. And in that span, he's only had 9 passing touchdowns and 10 interceptions. He's only had 144 rushing yards. He had no rushing touchdowns in that span. So you could tell me, and you could take 2 of those games away and say, like, well, Cam's hurt. 2 of those games was the start of last year's season. And then the other 6 games come from the other year, which you could say, yeah, he got hurt during that year. I mean, the Panthers were like 6-2 at that time. And then he just kind of skidded off. Oh, well, the defense wasn't good. Oh, just stop making all these little excuses. Well, they have Christian McCaffrey, hands it off more. I don't want to hear these excuses. Cam Newton's not – this is in 2015. Things changed since 2015. In 2015, Babs probably weighed 200 pounds. It's 2020, and Babs weighs 260 pounds. I ain't the same 2015 Babs that I am today. Things changed, and Cam Newton can get back to there, but like we said early last week when they had the press conferences, he danced around his injury. He was saying like, I'm a full go on my shoulder, but we still have more training camp. We're going to see what ends up happening. He has the scapegoat ready to go. Mm-hmm. You know, if Cam Newton's not the starter week 1, he's using his injury as the excuse of saying, I'm just fully not ready there yet, or the Patriots don't see me medically cleared yet to play. And you know that these same people that are defending Cam Newton are going to use that excuse to be like, well, that's why Stidham started. Like that, because he's hurt. Like he's not there 100%. Although he's been posting all these hype up videos of him working out and he looks absolutely fine.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the interesting thing.
People are... Go ahead.
No. You go.
People are discounting that injury. They're like, well, you know, he's hurt, whatever. Well, he hasn't been able to stay healthy his whole career, and injuries are part of the game. So if you're hurt or you're coming off an injury or you had an injury a couple years ago and now you're fully healthy and can't perform, well, that's on you. You're injured. Sorry, I feel bad for you. But hey, if you can't perform, that's not our fault, you know?
Exactly. You have any last Patriots thoughts? Anything you want to talk about that you've seen?
Nothing that I've seen, but I'm really big on. I think that he's not going to make it out of training camp. And then the other thing is
that's a bold take. Like the Cam Newton. Like I've stayed away from that. Cam Newton getting cut during training camp. That's a bold take. And these people that are putting in their minds, Caiden, that we're paying him $7 million. No, we're not. The guy got paid $500,000 to come in here, do a couple hype videos, push some merch, and then he's probably out of here. They're going to pay him $1 million. That's it. That's his base salary.
And that goes back to his quote on his Instagram post. I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time.
And you could spin that any way. Like, again, another thing, Caiden, that I posted out there was he has an ongoing court case, child support case going on that's going to go to court at some time this year. He's got a lot of other baggage that's happening, whether it's his injury or whether it's his court case. These things are eventually going to pile up, and Cam Newton knows he's a rental. I say it this way. If Jarrett Stidham's your guy, like Jarrett Stidham's going to have to be your guy in 2021. Unless they're not going to go out and spend the money and go get Rodgers. They're not going to go get Watson. Belichick wants to develop the next guy. Belichick wants to develop the next Tom Brady. Belichick, look at what he did with Matt Castle. That guy went 11-5, and he got paid for Kansas City. Look what he did with Jacoby Brissett. He got paid for the Indianapolis Colts. Look what he did with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo went to a Super Bowl. Belichick, in his mind, has to think, I made those guys. I gave those guys the opportunity here and developed them to at least flourish a little bit in the NFL. He wants to do the same thing with Stidham. He brought Cam Newton in here because he respects his play, understands how good of a work ethic he has when it comes down to working out, and knows that he can push Jarrett Stidham to become the starter. And we're seeing this develop. We have 4 weeks left. This isn't going to be the last time we talk about it. If they do cut him, Caiden, when would it come?
The end of training camp. I think they're going to cut him because he's not going to learn. It's not going to click in his head about the whole leadership thing and how he puts himself out. You can put any image of yourself you want on social media. You can put all these hype videos. Look at me, I'm working out. But then these videos of him kind of, slacking off on the practice field, that goes to people's feeds too. People see that. And I think by the end of training camp, he's going to do enough of that Bill Belichick is going to be like, see ya.
The GRD hot take that I was talking to him about, Cam Newton. Now, again, first of all, social media posting, Cam Newton can do whatever he wants. He's a veteran in the NFL. It doesn't matter. But when you're near a rookie, like you are with Jarrett Stidham, you have to stay as quiet as possible. You can't really do too much. You can't like anything because you're still fighting to get that veteran status in the NFL. Cam Newton can do whatever he wants. GRD hot take was Cam Newton is one Instagram or one tweet post away from getting cut. That guy can just say one thing and the Patriots will just say, see you later. And we don't know what it is. Like you said, it's leadership. And this is something we've talked about prior on a different Boss's Big 3 episode. He needs to show leadership on the field. Yes, they keep using this word during the week, energy. Cam Newton's got energy. He's got energy. And I'm sure the Patriots players like it because just like Gronkowski, they like the fun from football. But when it comes down to business, hey, it's not fun. This is work. You're here to work. This is a business. This is what you're doing. And him being all that loosey-goosey, Cam Newton, fun, dancing, whatever he wants to do, he could be in his own mindset. Tom Brady treated every single training camp as a competition when he's the clear-cut number one. It didn't matter if it was Matt Castle or Brian Hoyer, Jimmy Garoppolo. He knew he always had competition. He treated it like competition. He went there and said and yelled at people and said, this is how we're doing it. This is what we're going. And he stuck with that core group. And like you said, you see the imagery. Cam's off on his own. Hoyer and Stidham are together. And Hoyer, Stidham. I know that Cam Newton, Brian Hoyer is more of a vet than Cam Newton is, but Cam Newton's more of a winner, and Cam Newton has more of the skill set. But if Cam Newton came in here and sat down and listened to Brian Hoyer and said, I want to learn everything that I can about the New England Patriots, that wins you the job. It's stuff like that. It's the little things like that. Let's move on real quickly. I got a message the other day from from a affiliate that works with NBC Sports and Golf Channel. And they were looking at the Spike King to promote the FedEx Cup next week. And I have no idea what I would be talking about with golf, but hey, it's a paid opportunity. And we're sitting here on Friday at almost 6 p.m., and I haven't heard anything back because I made this wild proposal to them that I was like, I'll take over my entire Instagram and do all golf coverage for you guys. Caiden, you gotta teach me a little golf. What should I be looking for in the FedEx Cup this upcoming week in Boston?
So what do you want to know? Like the FedEx Cup. So basically you got rankings. So throughout the year, obviously, the PGA is a little different this year because of COVID, and they shut down for a little bit. So they're about 5 events in right now since the restart. In the FedEx Cup, what they have is rankings. So you get rankings based on the number of wins you have in the year, and then like finishes in your tournaments. So like if you played, like there's this guy Brendan Todd, he's number 9 in the FedEx Cup rankings this week, and he isn't the best player in the world. But if you he has put in a lot of good finishes this year in the 3 or 4 tournaments he's played in. So that's why he's so high, because he's racked up more points. And so it's basically like you got a ton of these guys, and that's how you qualify for these events like the Northern Trust and like the Tour Championship, stuff like that. So the FedEx Cup is, I believe, 3 events this year, and you start so
they're in Boston. Yeah.
Yeah. So Justin Thomas is he's number 1 in the FedEx Cup standings. So he'll start, I think it's 10 under par for the tournament. So he'll play the tournament, but he'll start the rankings. So they reset the rankings, and he starts 10 under par. Colin Morikawa is number 2 in the rankings. He'll start 9, and it'll go all the way down until you get to a guy like Scotty Scheffler, who will be even. All right. So for the tournament, and then you'll play these 4 events, and then whatever your total is for over those 4 events is you're the FedEx Cup champion. So say Justin Thomas can start at 10 under par, right, for the beginning of the tournament, because the Northern Trust is the first event of the FedEx Cup. So, and then he could finish the FedEx Cup at 1 under, 1 over, or even, and he's not going to win the FedEx Cup. And you could have a guy like Abraham Ancer that's going to start at 1 or 2 under par. He could finish the tournament at 15 and win.
There's 3 legs here: Boston, and then it's Illinois and Georgia. Do they win something? Like if you were the best player in the Boston area, when they come here, do they win? They're they rank them that way too.
So they're their own individual tournaments. But then they so the tournament here next week is the Northern Trust, and that has its own trophy, and then you got your own trophies for the other 2 tournaments. And but it's the bigger thing is the whole standings with the new standings with the FedEx Cup, and then
I have a lot to learn in a short amount of time if this ends up happening. What about Tiger Woods? It's the only name I know when it comes to golf. I mean, I grew up on Tiger, so does he have a shot?
So he's playing, and he announced today that he's playing. I knew that he was going to play in the tournament. He's 47 in the FedEx Cup rankings right now, and anything can happen. I believe he won the FedEx Cup a few years ago, and he was coming off injury, whatever. And this is a guy who plays in only the biggest tournaments of the year. So he's going to be rested up and ready to go. And he's played in the Northern Trust before. He knows TPC Boston. So, yeah, I mean, he wins one of these tournaments or has two top 3, top 10 finishes, he could definitely win it.
What's golf doing in terms of fans, attendance? They can't have anybody go to these events?
No, so they're not having anybody go. But the interesting thing is that there is no bubble. So, but the thing that they're finding is the majority of these guys, so in golf you have a cut line. So I think it's top 70 in ties. So about 150 people are in a tournament every given week, right? So top 70 in ties, and it's based on how they score. So on Sunday they'll make a cut line, which might be 2 under. So top 70 in ties on 2 under, they get to move on to the weekend. So everybody plays Thursday and Friday. The weekend isn't guaranteed. You got to finish at the cut line or better. And what they found is all the guys who have made the cut have not had coronavirus. And some of the guys that have, I mean, there's probably a handful, 5, and then there's a few caddies. Those are the guys that have gotten it. But the golf is not in a bubble. They all have the Whoop bands, right? So it's a band, and it tracks your sleep habits and anything that has in your respiratory system that has gotten off a heartbeat or something. And Whoop has found coronavirus in these guys, but the PGA Tour's been doing a really good job with not being in a bubble and still being able to kind of,
golf's a socially distant game anyways, and it's
Yeah.
not like they're not teeing off in pairs, are they? Like they're just kind of
so they're doing grouping. So yeah, they are like, I think they're doing they're doing threesomes. That's what it's called. It's not.
I like them. I like threesomes.
Yeah. So that's what it's called. And then the weekend, where they would normally have a foursome. That
foursome's even better.
Yep. So they're doing groups of two on the weekend. So they're doing that too, and none of these guys are hanging out at, they're not going out to eat or anything like that too. So
I hope this opportunity comes for me, because then it's just gonna make me have to learn golf and just have to talk about what the hell's going on. And I'll just be in your ear the entire time because I need to learn these. I mean, what are some golf terms I picked up today? Threesome and foursomes. Grouping.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So, and then how it works. So you got the tee times is when these guys tee off, and how it'll work is on the weekend, the leader. So say Justin Thomas is leading on Friday going into Saturday, he'll tee off later. So he'll be the last group with Colin Morikawa. Say Colin Morikawa's in second. So him and Colin will tee off in the last group, and then whatever. So say Tiger's in the last spot, he barely made the cut, he'll tee off first. So the worst your score is when you tee off first.
When's the first tee off?
Those haven't come out yet because
Okay.
the tournament's next week. They got a tournament this week, but you'll have featured groups. So Tiger will play with the big names like Bryson DeChambeau, Colin Morikawa.
Ratings.
Yeah,
ratings, dude.
ratings,
Everyone likes Tiger, dude. The Tiger sells. They need Tiger to keep succeeding.
Yeah, and it's like, I was talking to my dad, and I was like, the first year I get my license and I can go down to Norton, I could and see Tiger playing. Of course, no fans. So, yeah.
Hey, maybe next year you get some media passes or something like that. That could also happen too.
Yeah. Anything else you want to know? You want to know my picks for this week or next week? And
we'll get to we save that for the Instagram post.
Okay.
I'll have to have little charts and stuff. Caiden Bodak's top 3 for the week if they continue. I'm still waiting. They probably were just like we're all set. They're probably we don't want to do that. That's fine anyways. Caiden, any final thoughts for you before we wrap this up?
No, I just I really enjoy being on the pod. Obviously, I want to thank you again for having me on. Stiffy is up, and then I'm excited for the TPC Boston in the Northern Trust. I'm excited to see what Tiger can do. Obviously I want him to do good, make the comeback, and I hope that the people get back to you and we can make something happen.
My final thought is I'm excited next Monday, or this upcoming Monday, not only for the birth of the twins, the Spike twins that are going to be coming, but they're going to actually allow more media members at these Patriots practices. Everything's been done in-house. Everything's been released by Patriots.com. So they've been controlling a lot of that. I'm sure Belichick loves it, but I can't wait to see more of these media members go out there so we can see more that's happening. There's a lot of things going on, especially when it comes down to quarterback competition and wide receivers and running backs and tight ends. I want to see some more of the stuff that's going on. Football doesn't feel like it's here. I know college is going through their own turmoil right now. They're trying to figure it out. Week 1 will happen for the New England Patriots, for the NFL, and Jarrett Stidham will be your Week 1 starter. That has been Boston's Big 3, episode 70, presented by Ride the Wave Media. Today sponsored by Pete's Pop. We'll catch you guys soon. Take care.